Okay, we know who the best players in the world are. Your Stephen Currys, your Luka Doncic's, your Nikola Jokic's, your LeBron James, your Kevin Durant's, your Joel Embiid's. But no one ever talks about the worst players in the league. Today we're going to go through and mention different categories and ultimately come to our worst player in the NBA.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
I might not be good enough to play in the NBA, but I am good enough to make this YouTube channel, so you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that comment, and comment that I'm an idiot. I do not care, just as long as you comment and like and watch the video and subscribe. All of that. Cheers. So first things first, I'm gonna set some boundaries. The player has to be a regular rotational player. It can't just be a player that plays 3 minutes every single game. And it can't be a player that hasn't played. We can't judge Bradley Beal, for example, over the entire course of the first 12 games when he's only played 2. Do you know what I mean? That sort of thing there. Secondly, no rookies. I know some of the rookies are the worst players in the NBA, but they're rookies. They're going to be the worst player in the NBA. They need more time and game time, and they need more confidence. That comes with playing more. So I'm going to let them shoot their 25%. Cool, they can do it. I don't mind. So the first thing we're going to look at is scoring. Scoring is the most important part of basketball. The most important thing is putting that ball into that hoop. And if you can't do that, why are you in the league? You can go play in Euroball and gives 26 dimes, but if you can't score the ball, you shouldn't be an NBA player. This one is one of those where it could be a rookie, where, you know, Grady Dick could be the worst scorer in the NBA, which is quite sad because I said back in my March Madness video that he was going to be a really, really good NBA scorer. Hasn't really projected like that in the first couple games, has he? But you know who isn't a first year player and he's shooting 31% from the field? Yeah. You know who isn't a first year player and is shooting 26% from 3? Yeah. And that's with me rounding up as well. You know who isn't a first year player and is shooting 36% effective field goal percentage? You have to add context. This man was the 4th overall pick. Patrick Williams. You might just be the worst scorer in the NBA. Obviously there's players like Theo Maledon, but I don't care. Theo Maledon's bad scorer right now. Jaden McDaniels, bad scorer right now. But key rotational piece that can't score, 4th overall pick, could have been the face of the franchise in some Bulls fans' eyes. Patrick Williams hasn't had a good season. It's a contract year as well. He should be upping his game, should be playing better. But he's playing even worse than he was playing before. People said he projected to be like Kawhi because Kawhi put his offensive game together a bit later. But nah. And their team is mediocre, so I mean, it's not looking good for the Bulls and it's not looking good for Patrick Williams. Got my pen now because I'm feeling academic, you know. I'm telling people you are bad. You are bad. Like my teachers told me, you are bad. I'm joking. I'm a really smart guy. You know me. Next, we have defense. Defense is the other half of the game. You can put the ball in the hoop, but can you guard? This is less important. You can be in the NBA without playing defense. I love a defensive player. People always say, oh, defense wins you championships. Offense wins you championships. Defense just makes it a bit easier. Let's be honest. But defense is really, really important. I'm not going to negate that fact. Defense. Really gonna have to look at it from a perspective of statistics here and the eye test, put it together and amalgamated form to come up with who is the worst defender in the NBA. And I'm a Wizards fan. I know a lot about bad defending. So first we have to look at the defensive rating. Defensive rating is difficult just because it's a team rating thing where if your team doesn't score, you're not gonna have a low defensive rating. You know, you got usual suspects up there. You've got Anthony Simons, Jordan Poole. I think Jordan Poole with a bit of effort could be a plus, not plus, but at least is like an average defender in the league, but not a great defender right now, you know. But there's a player who's top 3 worst in defensive rating, but also among the players that have played at least 9 games, has the highest defensive field goal percentage. That means players, when they shoot over him, score 62% of the time. Bear in mind, an efficient year is 50%. for any player. But when players come up against this guy, it's 60%, 63% even. It's Tyus Jones. I'm tired of the whole pass to turnover ratio. We had it with Monte Morris. He still managed to have a high assist to turnover ratio, not pass to turnover ratio, assist to turnover ratio. Tyus Jones still manages to have that same thing, but he's been bad, and he's a cone on defense, and he can't stop anyone. Couldn't stop a high schooler, to be honest. Like, I know you're short, Tyus, but put in some level of effort. Like Jordan Poole's been bad on defense, but that's because he's a cone. But if when he puts his hand up, they're still shooting like 55%, but 63 is ridiculous. I'll be honest, Tyus. And I think personally, Spurs, if you want to flip him for a first, I will take that first round pick. But Tyus Jones hasn't been good this season. I had a lot of faith in him, knowing how good he was at Memphis. Maybe it's just the wrong fit, I don't know. But Tyus Jones, you're my worst defender in the league. Finally, before we talk about the worst player, let's talk about intelligence. There's a lot of dumb players in the NBA. There's a lot of players making boneheaded decisions in this league. But there's some players that make it consistently. And you know this player, everyone knows who I'm going to say. I'm not going to say Jordan Poole in case you're going to try and mug me off right now, because I still love you, JP13. But there's a player that consistently doesn't get too much minutes, but every time he plays, he's just not good and makes the wrong decision every single time. Thanasis Antetokounmpo. You're lucky you're not my worst player in the NBA, honestly, because you don't play enough minutes for me to classify that. But God, if your brother didn't exist, Brody, you might not be a professional basketball player anymore, to be honest. I can't lie to you. But Giannis is a person. Giannis is one of the greatest players of all time. So Thanasis has a job. Well done to you, my friend. Get your money up. I ain't going to hate. Get your money up. But you're not good. That's one thing we're going to say. You're not good. You make bad decisions a lot. Bad on defense. Bad on offense. Just dumb decisions. And if you use your body well, you could be a decent player. We saw it at the World Cup. Some of the times you looked pretty okay. But in the league, not cutting it, my friend. And finally, we will finish with who I think is the worst player in the NBA. There's been a lot of tweets of people saying it's Jordan Poole. Stop it. It's not Jordan Poole. He's still scoring 16 points in the league. Not efficiency, but he's still scoring 16 points a game. He's got to probably go up to like 22 by the end of the season. Watch my words. I've said it. Once we start playing him at point guard, he'll be alright. Watch. But the worst player in the NBA could have been Killian Hayes. Killian Hayes, I'm not a fan. I was a fan coming into the draft you were in. Not a fan anymore. It could have been, like we said, Thanasis Antetokounmpo. You know, bad decisions, bad play, bad. But I'm going to go for Marcus Morris Sr. I don't know a player that makes his team worse than Marcus Morris Sr. On the Clippers, he made his team significantly worse. Where he is now, makes his team worse every time he plays. Somehow, it's not even like his ability is worse than a Killian Hayes, for example, but he just makes his team so much worse, like to the level where teams are going from championship teams to play-in teams. You know, they're like, this is not normal for a player to be this bad for his team. And so because he's this bad for his team, Marcus Morris Sr., you are my worst player in the NBA for 2023-2024. And I love Markieff Morris, so I'm not just hating on the Morris twins. I love Markieff. He's one of my favourite players ever. You know, the Death Row DC days were some of my favourite days ever as a basketball fan, which is quite sad considering we didn't win anything and we got kicked out in the second round, but still. But anyways, those were my worst players in the NBA. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you, man, in a bit. Boom.